artistry. All of artistry, dude. She's fucking kick-ass. Peg, where are you from?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
She's from Cincinnati. Oh, Hazel. One time. Give it up for Peg, your fucking Uranus. Peg Uranus. I love that fucking name. You have no idea, dude. Oh my god, that name rules, dude.
You know what? I'm not upset that you called me dude because that's a non-gender specific term out here in California. Yes, and like I said, I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. Although I was adopted by a family that took me back across the river to Kentucky. Yeah, and there's a bridge going between Covington, Kentucky and Cincinnati, Ohio that I-75 and I-71 run over the river between the states on, and the top deck is the southbound deck, and so it's the deck when you're going from Ohio to Kentucky, and the bottom deck, you know, it's like the Bay Bridge used to be, or yeah, the Bay Bridge used to be a double-decker, and then you had Loma Prieta. I remember when that happened. I was safely at home in the basement of my house in Kentucky. Yeah, so I wrote a song about living there. I was kind of you know, if I was born in a different decade, I would have said I was an incel, because, you know, I was in denial about being trans for 38 years. When I was 3, I used to wear little dresses, and my dad would, but, you know, my mom and my sisters thought it was so cute, and they'd go along with it. But eventually my dad, you know, he was a conservative Catholic, and he put his foot down, and so he gave me this talk in which he made me take off all my clothes and make my sister, who's a year and a half older than me, take off all her clothes, and I got my first anatomy lesson. Years later, I got an MD, although I'm not practicing. Oh, yeah, Dr. Frank. Yeah, you know, of course, being on trans hormones means that my sperm is no longer any good, so I can no longer make money hand over fist. There was a comedian earlier tonight who had a joke about trying to give up masturbation for Lent. I told you I was raised really Catholic. I did that once in my early 20s, so, you know, living as a guy and having crushes on women who don't have boyfriends and thinking, oh, I have a chance because she doesn't have a boyfriend. But there's another reason why a woman wouldn't have a boyfriend, which I was kind of clueless about, you know what I'm talking about. Oh God, and I almost came out to her too. Yeah, you know, but once I finally said, you know what? I've been hiding it my whole life. I looked her up and she was dead. Oh yeah, I just realized the track I was on and I got off because there's a really good joke about, you know, giving up masturbation for Lent, because back in those days that was the only time I was getting it. And so it gave Palm Sunday a whole new meaning. And one thing I actually found, I was like 5 weeks into it, and I had this sexy dream. Of course, in the sexy dream, I'm me, but still like, you know, boy me. And then I see 2 very beautiful women start getting it on with each other. And I wake up, I don't know if I'm joining them or not, but I'm seeing it. And I wake up and I realize that I had a hard-on and I was dry humping my mattress. And so, oh my God, that's what wet dreams are. You just basically turn over and dry hump your mattress. I had a different thing from, you know, someone who's assigned female at birth. I lived with her for 12 years. I'm not going to mention my ex-wife. But she told me once she was having a sexy dream and she woke up and she was touching herself. And she would never touch herself because she thought that was gross. It's a trauma thing, but it's really sad.
Those are the ukulele.
Yes, because we have a holiday coming up, Easter. Yay, Jesus rose from the dead. But people don't rise from the dead. I'm sorry, but I used to think about people who I known in my life, and they die, and like I kind of feel like they're around, but I know I don't believe in ghosts because I'm very, you know, I know when we die our mind goes off and that's it, but those of us who live, our minds go on, and we have echoes of these people who are no longer around. So, no, we're doing big. backyard for the birds. I did that many years later as a young adult, I remember that. But as a teenager, I was going through an old chest in the basement, then when she left the newspaper clipping. It was from September 1st, 1939, and it was the speech of the German Chancellor on why he's invading Poland. Why did you keep that, Grandma? Was Grandma a Nazi? I don't know. And the other grandma, who died when I was a teenager. I used to worry about her looking at me while I was doing things like touching myself while wearing the old clothes that she left in the closet in the room that she used to live in, which I moved into as a young teenager back when. And I hear my old crush. I simped for her. I thought I almost had a chance. Cause she didn't have a boyfriend, but there's no other reason why women wouldn't have a boyfriend. I was so fucking clueless. And I almost came out to her as trans. But I held back because I thought she wouldn't like me, but that was my only chance. I said sometimes I touch myself. I was gonna add that, imagine that I have a woman's body. That kind of would have been coming out as trans, but I just stopped there and like, duh, a man who touches himself. And I think about my mom and dad, what they missed in life. Other together with all my old friends and acquaintances. Maybe what you believe is what you get. So Dad, are you enjoying watching me perform before people with a shirt that says bitch on it? From purgatory, because he's Catholic, and purgatory is where you go. You haven't figured things out, like, why did you tell me if you touch yourself it means you're gay? Really, but I imagine being a lesbian when I touch myself. Maybe you'll learn it in the by and by, or maybe I'm just too damn high. Goodbye, everyone.
Don't spit my anus.
Happy Good Friday, because that's when it was over for Jesus. I'm sorry.
Was it?
Yeah. You know what? Because you have this little thing where you think you hear something. Like I thought I heard my cat going around my apartment after he died. It's like Peter was probably walking around thinking, oh, there's Jesus. Hey, I saw Jesus. He rose from the dead. We're all talking about that.
Easter.
Yes.
I
That's the
think
big
Jesus was
hallucination.
born on 9/11 too, which is insane.